at the age of 16, I was very much like, this is what I want to do. And I was really bullied for it. Kids are so mean. I was having way too much fun. Let's make something that's pure joy. That's just like with a bunch of people who love action and sword fighting and fantasy. And every problem felt like something to figure out. I think too, just like seeing my mom, and she would tell me, stories and just like all the misogyny and sexism that she faced and seeing how she handled it with such grace and class was always just a really big inspiration to me. I have to start creating again or I'm going to go crazy. And then in 2021, I made my first film, and that kind of solidified in me that I wanted to be a filmmaker and keep making cool genre films.
Thank you for spending some time over here to join the call and be part of the show. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
To those who are listening, this is Soph Puchley. I don't know if you want to do like a quick introduction for those who don't know you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Soph Puchley, and I am an actor and director based in LA.
What was like one of those first memories that you had where you either were exercising your artistic expression or you actually started, I guess, in a more deeper way, understanding the concept of art and then just being like, oh, I'm consciously like wanting to express myself. Just exploring, I guess.
I think the first memory I have of me consciously deciding that I wanted to pursue art for a living, I think I was probably 9 or 10. My career started out as an actor, specifically in musical theater. And I remember so vividly seeing one of my friends in a show called How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. And again, this was like children's theater, and it's really not that great of a show for children. But I remember seeing that and being like, I have to do that. And then I went on and just really pursued musical theater very hard for many years. And I think the mix of, performing with friends in a low stakes environment with music and costumes and lights, I was just like this, there's no better feeling than getting to do that.
Were you ever like not shy about it since you were a kid? Were you always like that type of outgoing personality wise?
I think like as a person, when you meet me, you wouldn't think I'm very outgoing. I think I'm a very friendly person, but I definitely veer more on the shy side. Like I don't think I'm ever, like the center. I don't like to be the center of attention, and I don't like to be like, look at me, which a lot of musical theater people are. However, when I'm playing a character, I think I definitely can have that energy. And I think, growing up doing a lot of musical theater, that's where I felt like I could express that more bold part of my personality that doesn't really come out when you just meet me.
Do you have a favorite play that you performed?
As a child or like as a professional actor?
As a child.
Oh my gosh, so many good ones. Oh, this is such a hard one. A really cute one that I did was Seussical, the musical, which is a very like kid appropriate show. And I was Gertrude, and she's this like ugly duckling type character who eventually.
Were you trying out for that character?
Like, yeah, I wanted to be her. She's like the quirky fun. She has the best songs in the show, and I really, really wanted to be her. And I played her when I was like 15 and had braces, and it worked.
Is this in school or is this like outside of school?
I did it outside of school. I did like very intense professional children's musical theater. Like a lot of those people who I did it with now, we're all professional actors. Some went on to Broadway. like
Did you tell
working.
your parents like I want to do this, or were your parents more like, hey, you should do this?
I had to really convince my parents. They're always and have always been very supportive, but they're like corporate America business
Okay.
people. So I
Mhm.
have no artists in my family besides me.
Yeah.
So I think they saw that I loved it and they wanted to be supportive in any way they can. But it was really important to my mom specifically that I went to college, made sure that I was really prioritized my education.
Besides the acting and the singing, like, was there any other, like, did you play music or did you do
Yeah, I mean, it
something?
was more just like I sang in choir, I sang at church. I went to Catholic school, did a ton of singing growing up, not so much instruments, although I can read music. I just wanted to get better at it to continue to do musical theater and choir and all of that stuff.
So did your fellow students, did they know that you did this, like, since you were doing it outside of school?
They did, and I was really bullied for it.
Really?
Kids are so mean.
Kids are mean. Kids are the
Yeah,
worst.
I was very bullied for doing musical theater, which is feels very odd,
This
but
is in California?
this is in California. Yeah. I went to an elementary school. I went to a really like athletic based school because it was like the best education and they didn't really have an arts program and that's why I had to do it outside of school. And
Did you play sports? Because I know you do a lot of like the stunts before too as well. So
it was mainly I've always did like dance and movement, but never like at my school it was very like volleyball, basketball, baseball, and
mm,
I was never good and I had no interest. So
no.
it was basically like if you didn't play volleyball, you were a huge loser. There were like 40 kids per class, so you couldn't
And where
really
was this in California?
well, I went to elementary school in Manhattan Beach, so like the
Okay.
South Bay area.
That area. Okay. So you've always been on that area?
Yeah, I mean, I'm born in Chicago, but I've lived most of my life in LA and grew up in like the beach cities.
So this started, you said when you were 10 years old, and then I guess during the entire time up until the end of high school, you continue to like just try to get better at doing performance on theater, musical theater.
Yeah, it kind of the trajectory was musical theater, and then in high school, my freshman and sophomore year, I went to an all-girls Catholic school, and I felt very restricted in my art. There were a lot of things we couldn't do because we were a Catholic school, and so then I convinced my parents to let me go to an arts boarding school for my junior and senior year of high school, which was great for me. And then I did more straight plays and I realized that's kind of more where my passion was. From there, I went to college for just straight acting. And that was kind of like the journey of my education.
You kind of always wanted to do that. Like you knew, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I think I knew since I think I really was like at the age of 16, I was very much like, this is what I want to do. And there's no going back. I mean, it definitely blossomed from there. And I think in your art, it's ever evolving and you think you're going to be one thing. And then, as you said, like I really did a ton of stunts and action. And like, that's kind of like where I live now, especially with action directing. So it's kind of crazy that I went from like a musical theater kid to an action director. But yeah, life is strange.
Feel like everybody that is in art ends up like doing wearing multiple hats. Were you always like trying or were you always getting into every single or trying out for every single play as you were growing up? Or were you like selective like I want to do this play, I don't really want to do this one? And if so, like why?
I think I wanted to do everything. Again, it was very competitive in my kids' musical theater
Yeah.
group, so it was like even hard to get into the shows. So it was kind of like I was excited just to be a part of it, and then I was like, no, I want to be the leads, and I didn't care what show it was. So getting to like work my way up to eventually being like the lead of the show was the goal. But I didn't care really what play or show it was. I just wanted to be a part of it.
And then how was going or that transition to college? Was there a big difference?
Well, so I went to a full conservatory for college. So I went to the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts in Liverpool, England. So that's a drama school out in Liverpool. And that was just straight acting, although I did some musical theater there because in my year at drama school, a lot of us could sing. And so they base what shows they pick off of like the talent that they have. And so our year was just like a very musical year.
How was that living in UK?
Living in the UK was amazing. I want to live in London again. I would love to go back there. It was just, I mean, very amazing classical training. And I think what I loved so much about the school and what really helped shape my artistic trajectory was they really taught you how to have a portfolio career. Like we had courses on making our own shows, producing them, getting funding for them, collaborating within our cohorts to make something cool. And then we'd have to like put it on and charge tickets and get people from the town to come see them. We had this professional development class they were like, hey guys, you might all not be actors. And at the time I was like, how dare you? I'm only going to be an actor. And then that's obviously not the case now. I wear many hats, but I think like they gave us a lot of good skills on how to produce your own work and make it happen.
And how long were you out there?
So I was there for 3 years. So that's another great thing about going to school in England is same degree, 3 years, like a fourth of the price of going to school in the US.
And how was that experience in itself? Did you find it really easy to adapt to the culture? I don't know how you were like from 18 to 21, I guess, there?
Yeah, I think I turned 19 the summer I was going there. Yeah, so 19 to 22, 19, 21, 22, yeah, 19 through 22. It was great. I don't think I could have done it had I not been living away from home at boarding school, because that really taught me how to be away from my family and be independent. And so to move across the world, I mean, it was still really hard. And people think like, oh, it's not that, we all speak English. Culturally, it would be similar, but that's really wasn't the case. Like I had to definitely adapt a lot to like the lingo, just like how British people communicate. As Americans, we're very direct and British people are a little bit more passive. So that was interesting. But still to this day, those people are some of my best friends. I talk to them very often and see them a lot. And like, those are like my ride or die friends.
That's cool. That's cool that you're still like friends up until now. And I think that's such a unique experience to be able to go to such type of school, whether it be even more so, I feel like during the earlier years, like going to high schools that are like specialized for art. It's just a very cool, unique experience to have at a very young age. And then from there, you're in college. During that time in England, did you started doing any plays outside of school, or what were like some maybe like highlights during that time that like really maybe played a part on top of the like, lessons that you were learning, of course, as you were saying, like building up a portfolio, getting funding? Were there any highlights that were like nowadays even play a role into what you do in a big way?
At the school, you weren't allowed to do any shows that weren't school related. Like you couldn't do professional theater just because it wasn't in the training. And the shows that you do third year, they're open to the public. So they are considered like professional shows and of a professional standard. But I think, there's so many highlights from that time. We just made so much of our own art. We would put on so many plays for like the town and each other. And we were just constantly creating and writing, like we would have 24-hour play festivals where we would have to write, rehearse, and then perform it. And
Did you started writing then, or
I did,
did you
yeah.
write before?
In the high school that I went to, I had took a playwriting class and had like a published play there. But then in school, I actually ended up writing a play with one of my close friends.
Did you enjoy that, or was like
I loved it. I
yeah?
loved it. And our other friend within our school has a really cool company called Freedom Theater that still does amazing work. And they ended up picking up our play and they performed it like the year later. They took it to the Fringe, which was awesome. But I think, one of the biggest highlights was my third year dissertation, where I wrote, directed, produced my own show. And then I also made a movie version of it. And I invited people to see both like the live and the film version. And my whole thesis, I think at the time, was like live theater is more powerful. I can't remember what like the stats were or what people believed. Obviously, it was very subjective, and I kind of just wanted to like make my show, and I had to find one way to like tie it into a dissertation.
What was the show about?
It was called Meat Package. So it was set in a dystopian society where like women are packaged like meat. And it was very like scary and surreal and dark, which is kind of most of my work now.
So what drives that theme?
I think all of my films that I've created, not have been hired on, have a theme of like, I like writing films about dangerous women. I like stories where like the unlikely anti-hero or protagonist does something, like something happens to that character and they have to do something about it. So stories of like power, consent, revenge are really interesting to me.
Where does that start as far as like, I don't know, attraction to that theme?
I think because I've always been obviously such an advocate for the advancement of women within art. And I think specifically in genre, that's a great place to combine spectacle with themes that are still very prevalent in our world today. As much as we think we live in a progressive world, still to this day, women all over the world, including in this country, are having our rights taken away. And I think that allows me to feel like I'm doing something about it and saying something to those people.
Do you have like, I don't know, can you recall like an earlier memory of whether it was like a character in the story that made that impact of within that theme or topic, or something more like just real world, something that you witnessed that you were like, that's a cool maybe person to look up to, or maybe just something that you felt that it was unjust that really made an impact to wanting to make something about it, and then just include that in your art?
Right. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think I saw it with my own eyes and experienced, like, even to this day, misogyny. And I think that always, like, I've dealt with that my entire life, and wanting to speak up against that, and going through experiences, seeing my friends going through very similar experiences, and feeling powerless in a system where women aren't believed. And I think I have always looked up to characters who are like badass and feminine. Like the character that I'm thinking of that I love is like Sailor Moon. Like I remember watching her as a kid and thinking like, this is a very powerful woman, but who doesn't shy away from her femininity, which I love. I think too, just like seeing my mom, she was a very successful woman in business, and she would tell me, stories. She was one of the first women in her field to be a partner and at her company, and just like all the misogyny and sexism that she faced, and seeing how she handled it with such grace in class, and, was always just a really big inspiration to me.
Are you an only child, or do you have siblings?
I have one older sister.
Are you all close?
Yeah, we're definitely close, but she's similar to my parents, where she's a business baddie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's very supportive of the arts, and she's awesome.
After college, when do you take that next step? You come back to California, and then what?
So I came back to California. I was in New York doing a show. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to be in New York or LA. And after doing the show in New York, I was like, oh, definitely LA. It just wasn't. This wasn't for me. So it was kind of interesting because I had like a year of settling back into, or trying to start my career, and then COVID hit, which was crazy, as you know. So originally it was like hands-on, hit the ground running, pursuing my acting career. And then 2020 hit, and that was a big, like, what is going on? Nothing was really happening. And I think from there, that inspired me to, I was like, I have to start creating again, or I'm going to go crazy. And then in 2021, I made my first film, and that kind of solidified in me that I wanted to be a filmmaker and keep making cool genre films.
So let's go a little bit closer into that experience. Like, how does that idea even like spark? Like, where do you, because you could have taken so many different routes, and yet you decided it's like, I'm going to make a film rather than, I don't know, YouTube show?
Well, it kind of came from, because in 2019, I started really getting into stunts and training in that. And I loved knives and swords. And so one of my friends...
Has that always been the case, or is that like...
Yeah, I'm like pretty nerdy
watching
that
The Matrix
way.
Or something? Like...
Yeah, no, I'm pretty nerdy in that way. I love like high fantasy and just love swords. And my friend and I, he's a really awesome editor. He's actually very good at everything: acting, editing, directing. He's very talented. And I was like, oh, I've been really getting into swords lately. And he's like, well, I'm trained in this and this and this. I'm like, let's make a movie about swords. And he's like, you mean a pirate film? I'm like, yeah. And so then we just like wrote this pirate film together, kind of threw it together an opening scene, and shot it at like 5 a.m. in Malibu. And then we used that to campaign, like crowdfund for the film. And it ended up doing really great in festivals and getting like a little distribution deal with indie flicks. And it was just like so much fun. We got a real pirate ship.
Really? How do you get a real pirate ship?
We found like a guy who was basically...
How did you find this guy?
Our campaign, and he's like, you can use my pirate ship if I can like play one of the pirates. And we were like, okay. And so we like brought his boat up from the marina and like parked it on, we got this like big Victorian house, and then we parked his ship. And then we like built a rain machine, so it looked like we were like loading stuff off from the dock. It looks really cool. Pirate stuff is, I mean, anything period piece is really fun.
I personally just enjoy from like period pieces. I don't know, I guess more adventurous. I think Pirates of the Caribbean was such a cool trilogy. I'm sure it would have been a lot of fun to like just be in set working on that production.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine.
So then that was like the first experience of like going from ideation to finalization in regards to making a film from scratch.
Yeah, and definitely on like a larger scale. Like I had made like little skits and little whatever with my friends, but like a full-blown piece that had a festival run, that had a home where we, found distribution. That was my first time.
How did that feel to you, like having some of those like lessons that you had learned from going to school in like UK, like when it came to like funding and stuff like that, put into practice, and just having that? Maybe, I don't know if it was the case, but sometimes it is, like for people when they just had that light bulb, that switch, where it's like, oh, it works. Like it's like an aha moment almost, to where like it unlocks new levels.
Yeah, I think like I didn't even really associate it with my education. But then in hindsight, you realize, oh, I've learned this. I think I was just kind of like I've just had so much practice putting together productions that I was like, this is a no-brainer. You get money. And again, we made the whole thing for like 10 grand. Like, we didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of talented friends and people who were willing to work with us and just do it for the love, which is, you know, basically all indie filmmaking. So I think I was kind of just like, well, we need this. I guess I'll get it. Like, we need this person. I'll ask around. And, you know, it just kind of came together. But it was an amazing feeling because I didn't know what I was doing in terms of like festivals or getting it at home. I just knew that I wanted it to play places, and I didn't want it to die on like Vimeo or YouTube. And then from there, I was like, I guess I'll just figure out how to make that happen.
Was there ever like a point where you almost kind of threw in the towel, where it was like maybe too much, or a nerve-wracking moment during the process?
Never threw in the towel. I was having way too much fun, and I didn't like, it was so low stakes for me. It was just like, let's make something that's pure joy. That's just like with a bunch of people who love action and sword fighting and fantasy. And every problem felt like something to figure out. Like, I'm just a very solutions driven person. And again, like, it was very low stakes. We were just doing it for the love of the art. But of course, you know, it's really difficult shooting days, and it's long nights, and, you know, but honestly, anytime I think of any of my films, it's just like pure joy. Like, I can't, even like the hardest, most difficult things that I've faced on it, feel like I just feel so much gratitude to even get to do it. Like, nothing feels like it makes me want to stop.
Yeah. And then from there, so that's the first film. And then from that first film, like, what's the next step that happens?
Well, I mean, I was still, you know, filmmaking, and, you know, still to this day, like, I work as an actor too. So it was a mix of like working, like being cast in different films, commercials, whatever, and doing that, and then developing my own projects. So from there, I guess my next project was a sci-fi short called It Est that we shot in 2023, which was so much fun to make. And
did you write that one as well?
I didn't write that one, but I worked with the writer. I said, hey, I want to do like a very high concept sci-fi action shorts. I want to play like a captain of a ship or some sort of fleet, and I want it to be sexy. And I was like, write it. And she did an amazing job.
Did you already have that idea, or what did you like all of a sudden just have that idea of?
I just think like similar to my pirate one, where I was like, I want to do something with swords. It was very much like, I want to be a captain of a space fleet, and let's write a story around that. So just kind of coming from roles that I wanted to play.
So all of a sudden, like, was that like a switch where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna make a list of all the characters that I want to play, and I'm gonna start like just making films about it?
I mean, it kind of started like that, and then I realized that because for those first two films that I really produced and was in, I was like, I had this feeling that I was like, I want to direct these. And so then I kind of switched for my next project to being the director. And then I have yet to star in something that I just basically switched to directing and not being in the things that I'm making. But I do write characters and everything since then that I would have liked to play. But as the director, I feel like I just don't believe in directing and acting personally for a short film. Like
together within the same project.
Yeah, I just think like for a short film with the budgets that I'm working with, I don't think you can really be subjective about your own performance. At least I can't. So I just kind of picked a lane.
Do you do the casting yourself? And how
Yeah.
do you go about that? Like what's like a determining factor?
Well, so for then I guess we jumped to my next project and my first big thing that I directed. And again, I've directed plays in school. I did other shorts, but this was my first like budget, just kind of like with my own company. One of my really, really good friends who I admire so much, just as a person and an actor, I'm like, I want you to be the lead. And I had another friend who I met and I was like, I also want you to be the lead. And so I went to the writer for Tracers and I said, let's make these two guys leads. He's the villain, he's the protagonist. And then we're going to have a female character who's like actually the mastermind behind it all. And then from there, I held auditions to find that woman. And we ended up casting an amazing actor who is so good at action, super beautiful, super talented, and she was just perfect. So we saw a lot of people for that role, but she just, as soon as we met her, I was like, she's the right fit.
And was this story also like driven by that topic of that you were mentioning before, like empowering women? And
yeah, it's basically about it's a revenge story about a woman wronged and like how she deals with that in a collapsing like dystopian society.
do you have like inspiration from other, do you get inspiration from other movies or books or life experiences or something particular?
For her, well, this was an interesting project because I knew I wanted to do like a high concept action. I wanted Louis and Cash, the two actors, to be in it. And so my other friend, his name's Aiden, he owns a sci-fi studio. It's now called Real Ghost, shout out. And he built this entire sci-fi set and he told me, he's like, hey, if you want to use it, you can have it for free. And I was like, I'm going to take you up on that. So I told the writer, I basically put together almost a pitch deck or a visual deck. I was like, hey, this is the set we have. These are the actors we have. This is kind of the world that we're building. Can we write a script to go along with the resources that we have? So it wasn't so much I was inspired by like a movie or a book. It was like I was inspired by the resources and the people around me.
I had this question earlier when you were mentioning your work doing stunts. Like, how did that even start? Like, when did you decide it? Because were you doing this for a while, or was it like a short period of time? I don't know.
Well, I got at my drama school, I was British combat certified in single, double, rapier, like hand-to-hand combat. Like you have to get it as part of your training. And I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty decent at this. I was like,
So
that's
this is part of the school program.
Yeah, it's part of the school program.
Okay.
You have to get certified.
That's
and
crazy.
I was like, this is real. I was like, this is really fun and cool. And then flash to my first year in LA.
Were you getting in fights in school and just on purpose? I'm just gonna test
I'm such a pacifist. I do not believe in violence, which is so shocking because all of my films are incredibly violent.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, no, I don't. I've never hit anyone in my life.
She's just trying to get into a fight. She's just looking for an excuse.
Yeah, it's all fake, but I just find it really it's so, it's pretty badass. But I was working as a character at a theme park, a very notable character, which I can't say. And my prince was training as a stuntman. And he was like, you should take a class with me. And I was like, okay. Then I started training. I started taking stunt classes, then met some of my best friends to this day from that class.
How long was that class?
I took it from 2019 to 2020. And then from there, I started working with a private coach training in boxing and Muay Thai. until 2025. And I was learning stunts for the shoots I was doing. Yeah, that was really fun and I really like it. And I've taken a lot of gunshots in films because of that, which has been fun. But I realized when you're pursuing stunts, if you don't want to like throw yourself through a building or be like light yourself on fire or like taking really hard hits, like you're not really going to progress in your career. And I realized that's not what I'm interested in. I'm more interested in shooting it. It's more fun to me to like design the action than actually do it, unless it's like certain things. So then I kind of switched to just action, directing, and designing.
Congratulations on the release of that. I don't know if it's still.
Yeah, it's out. It's on Dust right now, which is a huge sci-fi platform on YouTube. So if anyone wants to watch it, it's out.
How has that been doing? When did you release that?
We released it probably a month ago. I think it has around 50,000 views so far.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. We'll see if it keeps going up or down. But yeah, it's just I wanted it again. I think every filmmaker wants a home for their project. So I've always wanted to be on Dust because I love the films that they curate. So it was awesome when they gave us the green light that they would take tracers.
And so now where you at, like with so many things going on right now in the world that I'm sure can impact your work, both as like inspiration and literally. So yeah, like are you currently writing other projects or acting in other ones? Or
yeah, I mean, I just shot an episode of Chicago Med, which is awesome. That was such a fun thing to shoot. And then I finished my latest project called Only Flesh, which is a female-driven body horror about the commodification of female pain, and that's all set in an elevator. So currently in post for that, which is really exciting. Because that's my first film that I've written and directed. Because the other ones I've always had like a friend who's a writer help me out. But it was really important for me to tell this particular story. And I had this idea in my head for ages, and I just wanted to make it. So shot that in December. And then currently working on my first feature. So my directorial debut, hoping to shoot it this year in 2026. And it's called Miss XX Long Beach. And that's kind of about the gray area of sexual assault set in a pageant, which is not my typical style. It's not genre. It's very slice of life, but it's me and my best friend from drama school. We started working on it together. Yeah, we're really, really excited because it's a story that we feel like is not shown a lot in film. Usually sexual assault is very black and white when in fact it's a very gray issue. And so we want to, tell that story from our lived experience and POV.
Are you saying you're on post on that?
No, we're in development with that. So we have producers attached and we're looking for financing for it at the minute.
Cool. That's pretty handful. Are you doing the post on the other one? The other one's set on did I hear that right, in an elevator?
Yeah, the other one's a horror film set in an elevator. So yeah, we just shot that and we're starting post-production on that. So hoping to have that done by the summer. And then also now at the same time, developing the feature film.
In the feature film, are you going to be acting on that one, or are you just going to be directing?
No, I'm just directing it.
Are you doing any more acting now?
I'm actively auditioning. Like I said before, I just shot an episode of Chicago Med. I also just I was just in my friend's project as the lead in her film. So I'm currently still auditioning. So yeah, I'm wearing a lot of hats.
I mean, I think that's fun doing different things for different projects.
I think too, like with an acting career, so little of it you can control. So I'm very much I really love my team, and I'm confident with what I can bring, and I just audition. And if I truly think that like everything that's meant for you won't pass you by. So it's kind of like right place, right time, right role. And with filmmaking, it's so much more in your hands. So I kind of just like leave it up to the universe with my acting roles and that. And then with my filmmaking, that's kind of like my main focus and pursuit.
I don't know if you put too much emphasis into like, where do you want to see yourself in the next, I don't know, 5 years forward, 10 years forward? Or, I mean, there's only so much fast forward that I think, especially with like what's happening everywhere around the world, it's a little bit hard to like focus. Yeah, there's a lot of, I feel like so much going on every day. So yeah, I don't know if you have like a vision for yourself in the next, I don't know, 10 years, 5 years plus.
Yeah. I mean, you're so right. Every day feels like, how could this be happening? Why is this happening? And it's so easy to get bogged down by the world and the tragedies that we're seeing every day. And I think it's our job as artists to speak about it and to keep creating. And I think Guillermo del Toro said it best, that without art, that leads to fascism.
Fascism. Yeah, you got it. We got this. Fascism.
So yeah, I think like I just am trying to concentrate on what I can control. And I think with my feature film and even with my shorts, but especially my feature, it is deeply political. And I think the return of political art is really going to help heal and help give solace and strength to people. So I guess when I look at the next 5 to 10 years, I hope that I'm doing that. I hope that my work will speak to people, make people feel less alone, help give a voice, like specifically to empowering women. And just, yeah, like, because I'm not a politician or an activist, I'm an artist. And I think that there's a lot of power in that. So yeah, I hope I can just do good. And that's all I really know.
I think that's good enough. Yeah, with everything happening around, being able to both be conscious, but at the same time, like I said, have control over what you can have control. And as artists, keep on creating and talking about it, having conversations like this. I mean, that's the whole point of this, really, like this whole podcast. And even bouncing off of what you were saying with Guillermo del Toro, I'd like to open up the topic about AI as one of those many changes that are happening around the world, and seeing how you've been navigating this since its inception and whether it's affecting you or not in your work life.
With AI, obviously it's so new and it feels like it's changing every day. I actively try to avoid it in terms of aiding my creativity. Like, I will never use AI to write anything for me or take away any ideas or help me creatively, flesh out ideas. However, I do think there's some AI that's really helpful for filmmakers with like building schedules and helping to make, shot lists, even though they're not very good. I mean, I still think the technology isn't that advanced with that, even though I see that some people are trying to make that happen. Again, it's like everyone's personal preference, but I think for me, I just try to use it for things that can help improve my life really quick, but nothing creative. Like, help me write an email, boom, or help me pick out the top rated restaurant in this city. Like, just stuff that's like quick and mindless. But yeah, I personally don't want it within my art, but I know it's happening.
Yeah, I personally have been like diving into it and just learning from it, figuring out ways that can be leveraged as part of the process, as you said, whether that be the logistics, emails, workflows, things like that. I see the potential good use of it when it comes to making pilots that could later get funding, and then just being able to portray an idea with little, maybe less resources than usual, like to create, whether that's B-roll or a sci-fi piece where you would have to, have the budget to, I don't know, create something CGI. Where do you see this going? How do you maybe see this playing out for the near future, let's say?
I mean, that's such a hard question. I think we all have a fear of being taken over by robots, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. Like, I don't know. I think I definitely have this fear that we're run by robots and everything's gonna explode or whatever. But I'm an optimist. So I like to believe that we will have laws and regulations on AI, and I hope we can use it to help people and use it ethically and not replace people. But I do think it probably will take away certain jobs, and I don't really know what that will look like, or I just don't, I honestly can't really comprehend what that's going to look like. All I know to be true is that nothing can replace the human soul and love. And I think someone said, like, a robot can never be horny or vengeful, therefore it can never create art. And I'm like, that's so true. So I guess, like, in summary, I have no idea, but I'm hoping for the best.
Can you imagine having a horny robot? That's scary.
Well, they are making all of these weird sex robots.
Sex robots, I've seen that.
That's like a whole other, like, niche of consent and weirdness, and, like, I don't even know. Like, I can't even speak on that. But
a whole industry.
It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I literally don't know.
Isn't it, like, I find it like the movies, a lot of the stuff that you make is sci-fi. It plays out in a potential future like that. Being able to be alive during this time of transition, it's a very unique time period.
Yeah. And I just want to believe that, well, if we're getting, like, very hippy dippy about it, I don't know if you believe in that. Like, we're entering the age of Aquarius, right? So it's like new advancements, technology, peace, like, we're shedding old ideas. And yeah, I'm just hoping for the best, but we'll see.
Besides those two projects, do you want to do any sci-fi projects in the future, or do you want to do it project by project base, or do you have something in the works for, like, the future, like some written projects perhaps that you want to maybe see flourish in a not so distant future?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of have, like, a slate of ideas that I want to develop, and I would love to do sci-fi on a greater scale. I think now I'm kind of shifting from shorts to features. Just doing sci-fi, well, takes millions of dollars. So ideally, the plan is to build up a career of films that recoup their money, and I can show people that I can make my money back, and what I have to say can appeal to, the audience, like a target audience. And hopefully people will just give me more money for films. Like, I would love to do more sci-fi, high fantasy. There's a whole niche audience of women who read high fantasy, and I think that's, like, such an untapped market. So would love to develop those stories into features, and yeah, just, I think that's kind of the rough plan.
How do you see this whole rethinking of bringing back movie theaters? Just that switchback that happened from going from streaming platforms to now these streaming platforms releasing some stuff only on movie theaters, like that approach.
I will always advocate to go to a theater. All filmmakers want their films seen on a bigger screen, right? But also as an audience, I think we need to get out of the house and connect with people and be
Right.
with people in community spaces. And I think what we're going to see, and at least something that like I'm really going to try to do with my films, is do almost like a grassroots approach where, like, because my feature film is very political and for a certain audience, like going to the theater with those people, like meeting them, talking to them, you know, making it an experience where it's a conversation. Like our plan is to work with a lot of sexual assault survivor advocacy groups, you know, maybe playing it in schools, like making sure that young men understand what consent really is, what it looks like, and, you know, just making it a more personal experience.
Yeah, I think thinking about the experience, like just giving it a space as part of executing an idea, it's extremely important nowadays, especially that, again, we have that oversaturation of content. And so you have to think beyond not just the piece of art itself, the project itself, but how to involve the audience, how to make it an experience beyond just the movie. That's cool.
Totally. And I think especially for like genre filmmakers, which obviously my feature film isn't genre, but like for most of everything else that I'm doing is like, especially for the girls, like give us a reason to dress up and we'll go. Think about Barbie, the Barbie movie. Think about Wicked. Like people came in
Right.
costume. It became a thing to do with your friends. Like I know me and all of my friends were planning on seeing Wuthering Heights and we're going to wear like corsets. Like that's such a thing that is just like if you make it like a full event,
Yeah.
people will come. But if it's like, oh, we're going to see this film, the marketing we're not really sure about, but it has like this person in it, like people don't care about it. But if you make it like, especially, and this is why I feel like it's just a lot of people don't understand like what women want. We want to dress up and see Margot Robbie or Greta Gerwig. Like that's what we want. And I feel like I will know how to market my films for that. Even for Wicked, like I went with my sister and her group of friends, and half of us had green nails and half of us had pink. Like it's stuff like that is so fun. So if you make it like an interactive for your audience, love that.
Yeah. Experience, it's a must for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if there's anything that you'd like to say to the audience that might be in a similar position, other girls perhaps going to school for filmmaking. Any tips, encouraging words?
Tips or encouraging words? Well, obviously I'm still figuring out everything too, but one thing that I can say is that never let anyone tell you that your ideas are not powerful, because they are. If you have something in your heart that you know to be true, you have a duty to yourself to follow it to the dirt. And I think that's one piece. And then the second piece of advice for just sustaining a career in the arts, because it's so much rejection and no's and not now and you're not big enough and you're not this and you're not that, is to have gratitude for the journey in every step of the way. Every person you meet, every small inch you move forward. I feel like for me, that has sustained me so far, is just having like immense gratitude for each step of the way. Because if you're always thinking or looking like, I'll be happy when I get my Oscar or when I get this financing, like you won't be happy in the day to day, which is a grind. So yeah, the gratitude is the key to happiness.
It's a good note to end on.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people find your work if they want to check out or message you?
If you want to find my work, you can find me on Instagram at Soph Puchley, or my production company at Alone Media. You can also check out my work on Alone Media TransformArte.com, or just Google me and I think it shows up too.
Thank you so much for giving us a bit of your time, a little insight on your journey so far, and wish you luck on the future upcoming projects and the ones that are being currently developed and post and the ones that are upcoming in the near future. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.